There is a specific number that if you understand it completely changes the math on when you can quit your job. And almost nobody calculates it correctly. Most people think they need $1 million or 2 million or some arbitrary number they heard in a personal finance video. The real number is almost always lower, and it is hiding in plain sight on your own bank statements. The number is your actual annual expenses, not what you think you spend. What you actually spend, tracked across every credit card, every bank withdrawal, and every automatic payment over a full year. And here is why this number changes everything. The standard retirement advice says you need 25 times your annual expenses saved to retire at a 4% withdrawal rate. If you earn $80,000 a year and you assume you will need $80,000 in retirement, the math says you need $2 million. That is an intimidating number, especially if you are starting from zero in your 40s or 50s. But here is what that calculation completely misses. When you retire, you stop paying FICA taxes, which is 65% of your salary right there. You stop contributing to your 401k, which might be another 10 to 15%. You stop buying work clothes. You stop eating lunches out 5 days a week. For the typical American worker, actual post-retirement expenses are somewhere between 20 and 40% lower than pre-retirement income. An $80,000 earner may only need $50,000 to $60,000 in retirement to maintain the same standard of living. That drops the target from 2 million to about 1. And if you are willing to make 1 or 2 modest lifestyle adjustments, like moving to a lower cost of living area or going down to 1 car, that number drops even further. Geographic arbitrage alone can reduce your annual expenses by 20 to 30%. Now, let me show you the specific math on quitting years earlier than you think possible. If you earn $80,000 and save 25%, which is $20,000 a year, you are living on $60,000. At a 7% return, you hit financial independence at 25 times 60,000 or 1. 5 million in roughly 22 years. But here is where it gets interesting. If you can increase your savings rate to 40%, which means living on $48,000 a year, you now need only 2 million, and you get there in about 15 years. That is 7 years of your life back. And if you can push to a 50% savings rate, living on $40,000 a year and saving $40,000, you need only 1 million, and you get there in roughly 12 years. The math on early retirement is not primarily about how much you earn. It is about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is your savings rate. And your savings rate determines your timeline to financial independence far more than your investment returns or your income level. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room because I know what you are thinking. Saving 40 or 50% of your income sounds impossible. And for a lot of people at lower income levels, it genuinely is. But for the demographic watching this video, people in their late 20s through 50s earning somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000, The savings rate is almost always a choice disguised as a constraint. Here's a real example. The average American household spends about 12% of their income on car payments. 2 cars with payments of $500 each on an $80,000 household income is $1,500 a month. Over 15 years, that is $270,000 in car payments alone, not including insurance, gas, and maintenance. If you drive those cars for 10 years instead of 3 to 5, you save a significant 6-figure sum over your working career. Housing is the other big one. The difference between a $2,000 mortgage and a $2,500 mortgage is $6,000 a year. Invested over 20 years at 7%, that is roughly $260,000. That single decision about how much house to buy can move your retirement date by multiple years. None of this requires living in poverty. It requires making intentional decisions about the 3 biggest line items in your budget. Optimize those 3, and you can hit a 40% savings rate at most professional income levels. Now, the other piece of this that most people get wrong is what happens after you hit your number. The 4% rule was designed for a 30-year retirement. If you retire at 65 and plan to live to 95, 4% is the right number. But if you retire at 50 and you have 45 years of retirement ahead of you, 4% may be too aggressive. The actual safe withdrawal rate for a 50-year retirement based on historical data is closer to 3. So if you need $40,000 a year and you are retiring at 50, the target is closer to 1. 15 million rather than the 1 million that a 4% rate would suggest. But here is the flip side that almost nobody talks about. Most early retirees do not actually withdraw at a constant inflation-adjusted rate for 45 years. They spend more in the first decade when they are healthier and more active. Then spending naturally declines as they age. They also tend to pick up some form of income in retirement, whether it is consulting, a part-time job, or a hobby that generates money. The rigid withdrawal rate model does not reflect how actual humans live. And the most powerful variable of all is flexibility. If the market drops 30% in your first year of retirement, and it happens to coincide with a year when you could easily spend 15% less by skipping a big trip or delaying a home renovation, you dramatically improve the math. The portfolios that survive the worst historical scenarios are the ones where spending was flexible. Here's the bottom line. You probably need less than you think. You can probably get there faster than you think. And the single most powerful variable you control is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Close that gap, and you buy back years of your life.